Guys, welcome to the podcast. That's right, the Plastic Crack Podcast with me, one of your hosts, Jimmy, and
me, Kyle. Hello.
So, for new listeners on Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast from, welcome. We hope that you will enjoy this journey. Either you're sat on the bus or maybe painting miniatures and you've come across it, then we hope you enjoy. For our YouTube listeners, there should be the video as well for you to accompany these lovely tones of ours. So sit back, relax, and just listen. Listen. That's all you need to do. Just listen. For our new listeners, I'm Jimmy. I've been involved in the hobby since around about 2002, 2003, starting in 3rd edition, and have been through various editions in my life. And here we are now in 9th edition. God, I pray for 10th. What about yourself, Kyle?
Yeah, same here. So I started about a similar time, back in the good old days of 3rd, and really kind of found my own in the 5th edition. That's kind of where I started to really get into the rules, playing the game properly, and then sort of dipped out 6th and 7th, and then sort of came back with a vengeance in 8th, really.
We'll probably do a podcast later on, introducing ourselves properly to the audio listeners and for you YouTube listeners as well. We will no doubt you'll get to know us a bit better. So for YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that follow for the audio platforms, and let's get into this week's category, the Tyranids. So, Tyranids, they arrived, Kyle. Or should I say, their codex arrived, and their patrol box set as well.
Certainly has. It looks like quite a mean bit of kit, which is quite nice to see. Plenty of little gribblers in there, so it's always it's fun to see hordes. And let's face it, Nids are probably the best for being a horde army.
Yeah, quite possibly. They've got more gribblies than orcs, I'd say. Yeah, absolutely love Tyranids. I am so entirely happy that they are the next codex for us to get. For, again, going back for our YouTube listeners or subscribers, Tyranids has been on our channel, our Bat-Red channel, quite a few times, and I'm so happy that they are the next ones. And when that release dropped on Monday with their codex artwork, I was super happy. I was kind of excited again, which I've not been for a little while with this hobby, with how it's been going. But I saw that front cover and I'm like, yes, I'm starting to get a bit hyped here. Can't wait for it. And then on the same day, the Combat Patrol was announced as well. And I was just like, ho, this is pretty good. A Hive Tyrant, 36 Termagants. Not only that, you get 3 Tyranid Warriors, and then the Ripper Swarms, which come with the Termagants. So I think the price is rumoured to be around about £90, or that is going to be the new standard for these patrol boxes. I think for £90, it's not too bad, actually. 43 miniatures.
Yeah, at first I thought you were going to miss the most important 3 models in there, which is the Ripper Squads. No, not all. There's plenty of ways to go with this. You know, you've got your HQ, you've got your troop, you've got a really core structure to kind of build on. And on top of that, you know, if you've got an established army, it's just great just to kind of throw it out there and get more bodies on the ground. So, yeah, I honestly really think is it the most interesting looking one from first glance? No, but I do think for money to models, I do think it's probably up there, if not the number one for value.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think looking on it, when I first saw it, my initial thoughts were, why do I want that many Termagants? Why? And then I remembered, I have no Termagants in my Tyranid army. So for me, this is basically a perfect box. I know on the Tyranid groups, there was quite a lot of people moaning. People already have bucket loads of Termagants. Like, why do I need more? Why do I need another Hive Tyrant? So for them, quite a lot of people were saying it was a hard pass, but for me personally, I'm quite happy with this. Granted, yeah, like you said, there are other box sets out there that might be a little bit better, but you can't really go wrong. 43 miniatures for, well, £90 Games Workshop prices. Let's face it, most people probably going to like their local friendly gaming store and getting a, I don't know, 10, 20% decrease in that, which would make it about £72. So if you're looking at it from that point of view, it's like £1.80 per miniature, which Games Workshop prices have gone up recently, and we will discuss that later on. But I have to say, for £1.80, like probably about £1.80 per miniature, you can't really sniff. Be really annoyed with that. So yeah, I personally, I'm happy with it. I've said to you, I do plan on buying 2 of these box sets and at least a Turvagon to add not only to my own personal collection, but for a channel army as well, so that we've got an additional play style coming for the Tyranids, so I can spam all these. Well, it'll be 72 Termagants, and then I add an additional 6 Tyranid warriors to the group, and I already have 6. So yeah, I'm kind of hyped for this patrol box set. The other ones I've not been really bothered about, other than maybe the Gene Stealer cults, which is full enough still part of the Hive Mind, but still hasn't been released yet randomly. So, do you think this will be released with the codex, or do you think we might have to wait for this one?
Well, with unfortunately what's going on in the world still, I do think it's going to probably be a bit of a mess with release dates and stuff still to go. But yeah, just emphasizing what you kind of said with the Gene Stealer cults. When I saw that got released initially, I was like, wow, that's it looks really tasty. So hopefully it all drops. Unfortunately, your wallet, Jimmy, will be screaming. 'Cause it'll be like, oh no, two box sets to buy, but it probably is going to be worth it.
Yeah, if it arrives at the codex, definitely. It'll be a case of oh dear. Not only do I have to get the codex so that I can play the army, but then yeah, 2 patrol boxes and a Turvagon on top. You're looking at the best part of maybe 150, £200, depending on where we get it from. Yeah, it is one of them things. Definitely one of them things. But not only did we have a really cool art cover and the combat patrol, but we also had an additional miniature that has been around since 5th edition, or I had 5th edition rules anyway. The Parasite of Mortrex. I really do like this miniature, but before I talk about what I think of it, what did you make of it?
Yeah, it's some of that kind of I didn't really know about with fifth edition. Nids wasn't really under my radar. There's a few other different armies, which I'm sure we'll digress into in later podcasts. But yeah, anything with wings and teeth like that, yeah, it looks brilliant. It really, really, really does. It has, I mean, no shock here, like an alien-esque vibe to it with its head, but they are aliens, so I suppose it's forgiven. But yeah, I just I like where GW's going with everything's a bit more animated. It's less static. They're not just standing there with the guns. They're you know, it looks like it's flying, or things look like they're kind of like charging and stuff like that. So GW have smashed it regarding sort of making it look animated and look fearsome at the same time. So yeah, massive thumbs up, a massive fan.
Yeah, definitely. I really do like this miniature, but I hope it's not just a single thing. I hope it's just not the Parasite of Mortrex. I'm hoping that these are actual units as well, because from the article that was written, Parasite is going to have a 16-inch move, which is probably up there as one of the more faster units in the game. I don't know any other fast attack that really goes any quicker than that. Can you think of anything?
What in general? I mean, there's obviously bikes and all that sort of malarkey, but and like Eldar jet bikes and stuff like that. But 16-inch, yeah, there's very very little in the game that can keep up with it.
Yeah, and then it's weapon skill 2, which is pretty good. We've not got the full stat line of what weapons it's got yet, but hitting on twos is pretty tasty. It's also got ballistic skill of 3 plus. So I wonder if it's got some sort of like spit attack or something along those lines. It's strength 5, toughness 5, so similar to a warrior. Um, spoiler, spoiler alert. 6 wounds, 6 attacks, leadership 8, and a 4 up save. The good thing as well is it's going to be synapse, which is great, which means if you decide to take gargoyles in big clumps, this guy can probably go up, and hopefully the synapse rules basically stays the same. I'm hoping it keeps them fearless. But with the way that most of the armies have been going recently, like especially orcs, they lost their fearless rule. So I feel like the Nids are going to lose it in some capacity. But the fact this guy's synapse, then hopefully that does boost gargoyles going forward. That'd be pretty mint. I kind of hope that not only is it the parasite, but I kind of hope that they bring them out as shrikes. As like, I know Tyranid shrikes used to be basically warriors with wings, which I was hoping would stay around. But if they made shrikes now, maybe a unit of 1 to 3, and very similar to this, maybe slightly worse stats, maybe a weapon skill of 3 or something like that, or maybe a slightly smaller movement like 14 inches. I think that'd be really good. Like I think it'd bring an additional tool to the toolbox, if you will.
Well, really quickly jumping in there, then, regards to the actual profile, are you happy with it being the NID player out of the two of us? Like, do you see that and go, yeah, I'm happy, or is there something? Granted, we don't know the points, so it really does reflect on that. But anything you would really change on that?
Not necessarily change on his actual stat line, but I think if we're going from his stat line, he's probably going to be about 75 to 80 points. Um, Maybe 90 at a push. I can't see him being more than 100 with having only 6 wounds and toughness 5. He does. They do have like his melee profile in a way, where he's going to have +1 strength, -1, and damage 1. But he also has an additional ability called the Parasitic Infection, which basically deals mortal wounds. So that might push his points up a little bit higher. We will have to see. But each time an attack made by this weapon successfully wounds an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage and becomes infected with parasites. At the start of your opponent's command phase, for each enemy unit that is infected with parasites, your opponent must roll the d6. On a 1 to 3, that unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds, but then is no longer affected by parasites. On a 4 to 6, that unit being rolled suffers d3 mortal wounds and remains infected. So that's pretty cool. And then it says if the unit suffers 2 or more mortal wounds as a result of this phase, set up a friendly Ripper Swarm unit on the battlefield within 3 inches of the unit and not within engagement range of the enemy unit. That Ripper Swarm unit contains 1 model, and if you are playing a game that uses points limit, does not cost any reinforcement points. Interesting, because the first time I read this through, I thought this was going to be like a Crusade special rule, but reading that out fully now has made me think, yeah, that could be match play rules. Definitely, especially since it costs no reinforcement points. So you can basically spawn rippers out of people if they suffer more than 2 mortal wounds, which is pretty cool.
That's crazy. To be fair, I do wonder if anything else would get this this ability. I wouldn't be surprised if there's sort of weapons that are sort of weaker and generalized, but that they've got the parasite infection kind of special rule. That'd be pretty cool if you're just implanting parasites in everyone. You know that the spores and stuff like that, if they do bring them back, that might be a way. And if they don't cost reinforcement points, there's quite a good way of basically getting the spores back onto the fields, because obviously no one you never see them purely for the fact that they cost you extra and you'd have to kind of keep them to the side. But no, reading that whole thing again and actually realizing it's got no reinforcement points for the Rippers, yeah, that's pretty tasty. That's really tasty. With the synapse ability as well, like you said before, it really helps with, let's face it, a lot of the synapse in NIDS is quite expensive. You know, there's no real sort of chaff. Again, we don't know the points for this, but realistically, it's not going to be a high tyrant cost of points just because of its stat line. So you can field up the board really quite aggressively with synapse. So that's a really, really good winner in my opinion.
Yeah, and just moving on from that, the reinforcement points special rule. Also, it has an additional ability called It Itches. Whilst a unit is infected by parasites, it loses objective secure, which is pretty powerful. If you're able to spawn a Ripper, kill a few in combat, a few more die to mortal wounds, and then bloody hell, this parasite of Mortrex and the Ripper Swarm could outnumber a couple of models on an objective and score you primary and deny your opponent primary, which is it's pretty mental, really. Especially if you have gargoyles coming in. And the reason why I bring that up is apparently Tyranid Rumour time. Take it with a pinch of salt, but a few of these have actually been confirmed to be true with the recent leaks. Gargoyles are apparently moving into troops. Like, what do you think of that? Like a 12-inch movement, up to 30 miniatures of troops.
Great. To be honest, yeah, simple, just great. It's weird how GW are going with this because, so digressing to the things, so Eldar Guardians, you have to have them in tens. Fire Warriors, Breacher teams have to start with 10. So they're kind of forcing you into these avenues. But then, like Die Avengers have moved from troop to elite, and you've also got, but then you've got Rangers still there with a 5-man unit base. So yeah, it's interesting kind of like where they're going with things, like trying to change it up and stuff like that. Keep things sort of relevant, I would say. Possibly with gargoyles. GW's tactic is sometimes to promote things that aren't selling very well. And gargoyles are definitely one of them struggling units in NIDS. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a tactical ploy for GW to sell some more boxes of them.
Yeah, definitely. I've only come up against gargoyles against NIDS once, and that was at a tournament at Warhammer World. And I was taking my Imperial Guard that day, and I had this was during 8th edition, and I had Pask with a Punisher Gatling cannon, and within one turn, those gargoyles were dead. So 40 shots and 9 heavy bolter shots into the unit, and it was wiped out. But gargoyles do have flesh borers, and we have seen from the pictures that have been released of it is the on which no, it is the gargoyles. It's the gargoyles datasheet. There we go. The gargoyles datasheet has flesh borers, which are now strength 5, AP -1, and damage 1. So that's mental. Like, most troop choices within this game are going to be wounded on 3s by basically chaff. That's all that they are. Same with Termagants. Give Termagants a flesh borer now, and that unit of chaff is putting out strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage shots, which I know is 1 damage, and AP -1's not going to break the bank, but you think if that's against guardsmen or against witches or cabal warriors, you're putting them on 6-up saves, you're taking marines up onto 4-up saves, and then I wouldn't be surprised if there is some kind of stratagem in that book to give them like living ammunition or something along those lines, which probably ups the damage to 2. Could you imagine that? The 30 shots at strength 5, AP -1, and 2 damages. It's almost like heavy bolter vibes coming out of 30 Termagants or 30 Gargoyles. It's mental to think about, really. But let's have a quick look at a few more of the rumours. So Gene Stealers are apparently moving from troops to elites, probably where they need to be. I just hope if they are moving to elites, we're going to see some slight improvement, maybe a 4-up armor save and a 5-up invuln rather than a 5-up, 5-up.
Well, they'll just to put you in there. I do feel like they'll probably go down the Gene Stealer cult side. So I think they get to the more attacks, Weapon Skull 2. I think they already got a 4-up invuln. If they don't, I think they've got one in the Gene Stealer cults. So I do feel like you are right. I think pushing to elite is the better choice, and then making them more nasty. I feel like it's probably a bit more valid.
I'm just having a very, very quick look at the Tyranids rules, thanks to Wikipedia. Unfortunately, it's taking me to the Tyranid rules. It's not what I asked for. I asked for Gene Stealer cults. So I'll just have a quick look at this. Before we do, there is also Ripper Swarms going to fast attack. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think need to get away from these little hardy sort of units being able to be mass produced in the troop sort of section and benefit. It says people basically just spending very little points in the troop side, hitting their minimum, allowance, and then being able to spam bigger things. So it does sort of force you into this sort of element of like the symphony, like basically this kind of sort of, you got to think about it. So the gargoyles are moving in there. You've got obviously the gaunts and generally going to be the troop sort of side of things. It just makes it more cinematic, having them probably 10 minimum of each of them. It just feels more nid. Having just 3 bases 3 times over as troop for in the normal sort of 8th edition codex. Yeah, I just think it just doesn't look right. So I think pushing it into fast attack, focusing on horde sort of nids where there really should be a horde army. I think they seem to be nailing it with all these rumors.
Yeah, and just to go back to the Gene Stealers, you were correct. They do have a 4-up invuln. But instead of being able to go into unit of 20, they're capped at 10 now. And they've got 4 attacks, AP -3, and 1 damage at strength 4. So, yeah, you're probably right. We're probably going to see a very, very similar, if not the same, stat line for Gene Stealers when they do eventually come. And they can charge and advance as well. So they've still got that. They're still keeping that. But 4-up invuln on Gene Stealers would be something else, and I would very much welcome that, seeing that I've got probably 40 not too far away to my right. Let's have a look at another one of the rumours really quickly. We are looking at Hive Fleet Gorgon getting poison weapons as maybe their Hive trait. That could be quite mental. I don't know what weapons would be poisoned yet, but if it's all the weapons, a flesh borer. we'll just use the basic flesh borer, going from strength 5, AP 1, and then if there is a stratagem to take 2 damage, and then you're auto wounded on 4s on big beasties or Mortarion, for example. Even though he's going to reduce damage by 1.
You leave him alone, you big bully.
All right, then fine, Magnus. Or even Rebute Gilliman.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. That sounds
okay. But yeah, they're still toughness 7 at least, and being able, instead of winning them on 5s, winning them on 4s, you're gonna get a few of them through definitely, and they don't reduce damage as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, popping 2 off is kind of mad. That's if the stratagem exists. That's just a hypothetical. I don't know if that does, so please do not quote me on that one. And then Hive Fleet Kronos apparently is going to get AP 1 at half range. So again, I'm going to go to the Flesh Borers. I can't remember if they're 24 inches of Flesh Borer. maybe they're a bit shorter. But let's say if they're within 6 inches of an enemy, and then we do have that stratagem to make them damage 2, then they'd be strength 5, AP -2, flat 2 damage. Again, 30 shots at that would be pretty mental.
Yeah, this is just stuff that they just needed. They've needed this for a long time. Bless them, Nids. You know, if some of you guys listening have watched some of our YouTube battle reports, Nids are very much up there with our nearest and dearest armies. I'm sure Jim will go into it a bit more, but his Nids are beautiful, beautifully painted. So we do try and showcase them as much as we can. It's just a shame that the rules don't represent the potential. You know, currently, you know, Hive Tyrants, you know, the bosses of the fleets, the swarm fleets, whatever you want to call it. You know, they're getting less attacks than a normal Marine with the charge. It just seems a bit stupid. Granted, they've had the Crusher Stampede, which has massively helped them out, but they still need a little bit more, in my opinion. Yeah, Crusher Stampede's a fun sort of twist on things because you've got big monsters, but that's only going to fit one side of things. I'm very much a believer of having the look of the army quite like balanced. So you've got big things, swarms, psychic, crazy things going on. You know, when Gargoyles doing their thing, and then all these actual benefits. You know, looking at a lot of the Tau, Gene Stealers, Custodes, Eldar, you know, they've really been like leveled up. So I'm just hoping and praying that the Nids really do get these rumors through and they just become absolutely devastating on the battlefield.
It's one of those things like I thought with the release of was it the Octarius Warzone that had the High Fleet Leviathan rules in? I believe it was that came out only 3 or 4 months ago. Me and you generally thought that the Nids were a long way off, and lo and behold, a couple months later, here they are. And the synaptic links are apparently going to change as well. So I think we've only showcased the synaptic links once in a battle report, where I had a unit of warriors buffing some not Tyrant Guard, some Hive Guard, and they're shooting for like rerolls 1s and 6s explode and all that good stuff. So the example they have here is the synaptic links are now like a once per game effect, which will affect every unit within 6 inches of that synapse unit. And the example they've given is zone tropes give a 4+ invuln to synapse and 5+ to non-synapse creatures, which I think is quite nice. Like I personally don't own any zone tropes. I've always been one I've seen them used in armies from 5th edition onwards, and I've never really bothered with them. But seeing this, if this is true, I might buy a box of zone tropes for to give my guys 4 invulns and 5 invulns, even if it's just for a turn. Or until that unit's dead. Who knows? And then they've just put other units will have changed links. So it'll be quite interesting to see what links will eventually be leaked. And hopefully, as the weeks go on and the codex previews are being seen from the Warhammer community page, hopefully we can see maybe a few more of these synapse abilities and how the synaptic links will work.
I don't really much more to say about that. Like, I think GW, as they do time and time again, will be drip feeding us more and more information as time goes on, and keep checking us out, guys, because we'll be on it like a car bonnet, really, with all these new rules, teasers and whatnot. We'll be able to try and dissect as best we can with the mighty knowledge of the game, since we do millions of games as ourselves.
Next rumor. A lot of buffs trigger off the synaptic keywords. Warriors are apparently going to become beasts. That doesn't really affect them too much from the infantry side of things. It just gets rid of the infantry keyword, really. So a few abilities where it's like an enemy infantry unit or something, okay, warriors will not be able to benefit from that. but I think beasts still get a cover save in area terrain, so they will still be able to have that 4-up save go to a 3-up, so that's not too bad. Unit changes. We are seeing a change to the Swarm Lord, apparently. He will be losing his Hive Command ability and his 3+ Invuln, which makes me very sad. But he will gain Chapter Master rerolls and be able to give a unit obsec, which isn't too bad, really. Imagine that big unit of Gene Stealers that is munching away through your enemy's lines, who just so happen to be next to an objective, suddenly objective secure. That's pretty cool. I have seen another set of rumors, which I don't have in front of me right now, that Hive Commander is going to be a stratagem, which will be free for the Swarm Lord, and will also be allowed to be used by Hive Tyrants, but might cost 1 or 2 CP. Don't know yet. That's what the rumor said. And we don't know if the Hive Command ability will exactly stay the same. It might be just core. I imagine the core keyword's probably going to come into it, if I'm being honest. What do you think? Do you think the core keyword will be a part of that stratagem?
Yeah. They love the core keyword, so any excuse for it. I like to think there's going to be quite a bit of a range because, Marines got a lot, then Crons didn't. I think they've learned a lesson. Obviously, the backtrack with the Crons with the balancing. And then, like the Tau got a lot of core, so has Eldar. So you'd like to think quite a chunk of the NIDs should be core. It sort of fits cinematically, really. You got to think it's all synaptic. There's a massive influence dictating where they all go and do things. So from that argument, you could say Hyphens should be core. It's because they're all working as one, but GW doesn't work like that. But I do think quite a bulk of it will be core, so it shouldn't be too bad to be limit. It won't limit you to the point of not using it ever again.
Yeah, true. So yeah, like you said, it's going to probably be the core keyword, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, really, for players against Gene Stealers, against Tyranids. Right, move on to Hive Tyrants. They will gain Captain Reroll auras, or the equivalent of a Captain Reroll aura, and that's all that's really been said. While you've been speaking, I've been trying to find the data sheet that was leaked about 2 months ago now. It's nice to see the Hive Tyrants and the Swarm Lords becoming a 2-up save and a toughness of 8. About time. They're meant to be the elite fighting beast, essentially, of the hive mind, and unfortunately, they were a lot easier to kill than what I think most people understand. Granted, yeah, 4-up Invuln's always nice, but with the amount of damage in the game, especially now in 9th edition, a Hive Tyrant could be one-shotted by pretty much anything that has been released for 9th edition, any of the Primaris units, anything with D3 plus 3 damage. Yeah, my Hive Tyrants have died really quickly games in the past. Because I have taken my army to quite a few tournaments back in like August, September time, when admittedly Necrons, Tyranids were absolute garbage. But I wanted to play them anyway, I absolutely adore them. But now I have moved on to Custodes. Yes, I know. Cheese. Pure cheese.
You've gone from the rule of cool to the rule of pretty much auto winning.
Basically, yeah. Unless somebody tailors a list to beat your list. You can check out our Facebook page for a recent tournament that I've been to, and a friend of ours that we went to the tournament with made a list to tailor against. Fun times. And I ended up playing him and came second in the tournament because I played him. You know who you are, Ben. Termagants. Here we go. They apparently are going to give +1 to hit for Termagants in range. So I think they'll have a ballistic skill of 4-up. So if you have a Tervagon around them, hitting on 3s with that strength 5, and then if you are Kronos, they are AP 2, and then if this magical stratagem does exist, damage 2. Hitting on 3s, wonderful. We'll just let you enjoy that and let that simmer for a moment. And apparently as well, if she has a unit of 15 or more Termagants within 1 inch of her, she basically gets to look out Sir Rule for the Termagants. Don't know how that's going to happen. She is probably about 12 foot tall, and a Termagant's about 4 foot tall, but for some reason, the people cannot see that 12-foot giant behemoth that is birthing more Termagants. You can just imagine now a guardsman looking down the line of Nids coming at him, and they're like, shoot the big one. And he's like, no, I'm afraid I can't. There's too many little ones around my bullets. I just can't aim up, all right?
In a cinematic way, I keep thinking it's going to be like, do you know, like they're all crawling all over her. So they're like, it's like a gaunt sort of shield where they're just all birthing out of her and scuttling all around her. Defend the queen.
Do you know what? Now you've said that, yeah, I can easily picture that. Like, definitely picture that. Just like scuttling about, like, oh, it's horrible to think of.
Like just bursting out of her and just defending her. So like you said, like you got the guardsmen shooting like the guns or shoot the heavy bolters, and it's just like plinking off gaunts, but there's just so many scuttling over her, like, haha, you cannot touch me.
Warhammer Plus need to make that animation. Definitely. They
100%,
they need a Tyranid. Definitely a Tyranid one. Tyranid Warriors now, this one is confirmed. We've seen the data sheets. They are Strength 5, Toughness 5 as base. Then they apparently are getting a stratagem which will give a -1 damage strat in all phases. So you can probably use it in the shooting or fight phases. And then somebody else they can get the ability to have 4 attacks at Strength 8, AP 2, Damage 2. And the way they're going to do that is with Bone Swords. And this as well has been announced on the datasheet of the Tyranid Warriors. A Bone Sword is +2 Strength, AP 2, Damage 2, and apparently adrenal glands are going to be +1 Strength and +1 Movement, which would then take the Warriors to Strength 6 with the adrenal glands, and then if they have the Bone Swords, it's +2, that's 8, because that's maths. So, yeah, kind of mad, really. 4 attacks at Strength 8, AP -2. Oh, and they get the additional attack from having 2 Bone Swords as well. Because if you have 2 Bone Swords, you get an additional attack. So, what do you make of that, Mr. Kyle? The troops being 4 attacks at Strength 8, AP 2, Damage 2.
Utter bull, really. Don't really know what to say about that. Yeah, I think looking at the sort of leaked data sheets they've got going on, you know, when you're buying the box sets and it gives you like that sort of like generic overview. They've got a 4-up armor save. Granted, they might have an invuln. You know, they might have like a built-in 5 or a 6-up invuln just naturally. But it's a fair trade-off, really. You know, if you're going to hit him with a few guns, and let's face it, AP 1 and 2 is quite common these days, you are likely going to be able to whittle through them. So, as much as it sounds nasty, I think it's a fair trade-off. So, I'll allow it.
You will allow it indeed. Yeah. But how about I tell you the next rumour? Hive Fleet Leviathan is changing. So no longer will we have a 6-up Feel No Pain if you're within Synapse. You will now have Leviathan, a mini transhuman on non-Synapse creatures. So 1 and 2s always fail to wound. And if it's a Synapse creature, they get transhuman. And Tyranid Warriors will be Synapse because there's been Synapse in every edition, I believe, since the Synapse keyword kind of came into it, or they've always had that ability. Yes, you can only wound them on 4s now, Kyle. What do you make of that?
Hate transhuman. I think it's just it just made it. Yeah, is it Dark Angels with their innate built-in 4-up? It's just really tedious. So you know what? If you go down that route and you get a 4-up transhuman, fine. You know what? Fine. Luckily, you can't fill the squad of 20 with them, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, but currently you can have a squad of 9. So it'll be interesting to see if that squad of 9 stays in this edition coming up.
Are you trying to make me cry? Is that what you're trying to do?
Basically, yeah. I'm going, you know, your armies that you love, well, this army is going to be better.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So yeah, there are other Tyranid rumours out there. I'll quickly go over the leaked data sheet for the Warriors that has been out recently and just quickly go over the weapons. So looking at the, I believe it's the Barb Strangler, something along those lines. I can never remember the name of this gun because I never use it. It's going to be 36 inches, D6, strength 6, -1 damage. We move over to the Death Spitter. I thought this was going to have the heavy bolter vibes because that's what they've been in all the previous editions. Apart from instead of being heavy, they've been assault. So it's 24 inches rather than 36 for the heavy bolter. So 24, assault 3, strength 5, -2 and 1 damage. So where the damage 2 for a heavy bolter, they've just basically swapped that round for the -1 to a -2. Devourers, this is where people have said that Devourers have gone bad. They are 18 inches, but they are Assault 5, so they can pump out quite a lot of shots. You think that's 5 Termagants with Devourers, that's still 25 shots. But this is where they're Strength 4 now, and AP nothing, and 1 damage. We next move on to the Spine Fists. They are 12 inches, but they're going to be Pistol 2, so you can shoot them in combat, which is pretty good. And they are strength 5 -1 damage, so they're on par with a flesh borer. Weapon 5 is a Venom Cannon. These guys now are going to be assault D3, strength 8 -3 and 2 damage. I think at the minute the D3 damage and the -2. I could be wrong with that. It's been a while since I've used the Venom Cannon. So going up an AP, I think, and just being a standard flat 2 is not too bad. But there is the amount of damage, -1 damage strats and abilities out there that most of the time that Venom Cannon is probably going to be damage 1, which is a bit of a shame, but hey hell. Bone Swords, we've already gone over these. Strength +2, -2, flat 2, 2 Bone Swords. We're probably going to add an attack. Rending Claws, they are only going to be +1 strength, but they're going to be -4. But they're only 1 damage. That's the kicker with this. And then finally, Scything Talons are going to be Strength User, -1 about time, and 1 damage as well. And some people have said that they're going to double the attacks now on Scything Talons. So if you've got a pair of Scything Talons and you've got 3 attacks, you could potentially get 6, which is quite nice. 6 attacks on a Tyranid warrior, and then you've got 9 of them. So, but I think most people are going to go down the Bone Swords route. So out of all them, Mr. Kyle, what do you make? What was the standout for you?
The combat stuff seems pretty tasty. I don't think the Venom Cannon, unfortunately, is going to be very good, as you flagged with the -1 damage across the board. Yeah, it's got good damage, good strength, sorry, so you are going to be wounding things on 2s and 3s. But, like, when it's starting to get to, like, them sort of, it's the heavy weapon of the sort of all the variants, you should be really sort of flat 3 would probably make more sense. So it goes down to at least 2. Taking out, say, using Death Guard for argument's sake, you might be just about lucky enough to take out 1 Marine with it, which doesn't seem really fitting. But the Rending Claws, just basically kind of like a NID power sword, really. But they do have the place. But then flip side, a lot of things are invuns now, which I have learnt the hard way with my sister's lists. A lot of mine's got very high AP, but when you're versing demons at a tournament, when they've all got invuns, it means nothing. But no, going forward, massively better stat lines. But yeah, that Venom Cannon, ouch.
Yeah, it's a shame because I've got 1 Venom Cannon on my guys, and they are glued. They're not magnetized. I just prefer gluing, if I'm being honest with you. I can't really be arsed messing around. Although I do paint it in sub-assembly and then glue it. I think that's about it really for rumours at this point. We'll move on. And that is it for part 1 of today's podcast. If you liked it, please leave a comment down below. If you're on YouTube, please leave a review of some kind if you have listened to it on Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If it has a star rating, just be honest, not bothered. Even if you rate it 1 star, don't really care. If you rate it 5 stars, I love you. So it's a bye from me.
And it's a big goodbye from me as well.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we will catch you in part 2.